I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. Today, the United States Supreme Court put the final nail in the coffin for the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and that sucks. A lot of pundits, a lot of content creators are talking about how this might bring back some Jim Crow laws. Got me to wondering how many people know what Jim Crow laws are. So I'm going to try and explain, and if I get a few things wrong, cut me some slack. I'm going off of memory here. After the Civil War, when the Americans won, we went into a period of Reconstruction. And during Reconstruction, black men were allowed to vote. Black men were allowed to hold office. In fact, there were 16 black men in Congress during Reconstruction. This kind of thing didn't sit too well with the white folks down south, and frankly, some white folks up north. So they started implementing these laws, and for some reason they called them Jim Crow. Jim Crow was a character, a minstrel character in the 1830s created by some white guy who would dress up in blackface. He was quite famous. And they called these laws Jim Crow laws, I guess, to keep Jim Crow out of the business of being represented. I don't know. Anyway, the laws included things like segregation, poll taxes, literacy tests for voting, anything they could do. They started redrawing boundary lines for voting districts to make sure that even if a black man could get past the poll tax and could get past a literacy test, well, he still wouldn't be able to elect another black man. Those segregation laws, one of them said that black people couldn't be on the same train car as white people. And a guy named Homer Plessy decided to challenge that. He got on a white car and he got himself arrested and he got charged and he lost and he fought it all the way to the Supreme Court. And one of the worst decisions ever, the Supreme Court said in Plessy v. Ferguson that segregation was legal. They called it separate but equal. And that went on for a very long time. That Jim Crow law, segregation, was broken by Brown v. Board of Education. Hopefully you've heard of that. Anyway, a lot of the other laws were still intact. And this went on, and you've heard of the Selma March and all the violence that took place in the civil rights marches and stuff like that, the lynchings, and a lot of horrible things. That all led to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. One of the things it said was that boundary lines for voting could not be drawn to keep black people from being able to be represented. And that was the part that the Supreme Court put an end to today. Now, there's only one party that wants to fix that. Hopefully, this one party will elect a president who's going to stack the Supreme Court, and that's the Democrats. The other party, the Republicans, well, they would just assume we don't even remember Jim Crow. And I hope you'll all keep that in mind when you go to vote this November. Thanks for listening. Good day.